if you're watching this clip 5 years in the future, let me give you a little bit of background to January 6th. It was basically this gigantic event that Trump orchestrated. It was immediately after the election, just a couple months after everybody counted the ballots and learned that Biden actually won. He got more votes. It turned out that Donald Trump was orchestrating this attack, this insurrection, full-blown insurrection on the Capitol. The House of Representatives formed a committee to determine the level of Trump's involvement and who else was involved and what they were doing and who believed what at what time, all that stuff. So I wanted to read this CBS article about what we learned from the first January 6th hearings that aired just the other day, because I wanted to lay that groundwork before talking about how people on the right are reacting to it right now, how they're reacting to the hearings. So let me just read a couple of highlights on this CBS article. Again, this is cbsnews.com. Title of the article is 6 New Things We Learned from the First Public January 6th Hearing. A lot of people have talked about what we learned. That's not going to be the highlight of this. My highlight is how the right is reacting to it. Let's just lay the groundwork first. Number 1, Trump never called on any law enforcement entity to protect the Capitol. Instead, Pence did, Cheney says. According to Vice Chair Liz Cheney, Trump, who was president at the time of the riot, did not make a single call to a federal entity to direct law enforcement agencies to protect the Capitol. Instead, then Vice President Mike Pence did, effectively taking on the role of president. That's a pretty big deal, in my opinion. Number 2, Ivanka Trump said she accepted Barr's assessment of the election. Then Attorney General William Barr testified that he told Trump he disagreed with his belief that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. Quote, I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit, Barr said in recorded testimony, and I didn't want to be part of it. When Barr determined that President Biden had in fact won the election, Ivanka Trump, Trump's daughter and advisor, told the committee she believed him. Number 3, multiple Republican lawmakers sought pardons from the White House after January 6th. Cheney also claimed multiple Republican members of Congress sought presidential pardons in the days after the riot at the Capitol, including Rep. Scott Perry. Perry has declined to comply with the committee subpoenas. Number 4, Jared Kushner took White House counsel's threats to resign as whining. The president's son-in-law and top advisor, Jared Kushner, was asked by Cheney during his taped deposition about multiple threats made by White House counsel Pat Cipollone and his team to resign amid what Cheney termed the lawless activity surrounding Trump's efforts to hold on to the presidency. Number 5, Proud Boys started marching to the Capitol before Trump's speech started. That means somebody was planning it. This wasn't a protest gone wrong. This didn't get out of control. That's the point here. This was a full-blown planned insurrection. The Proud Boys began marching to the Capitol before Trump's speech rallying his supporters even began, according to documentarian Nick Quested, who's in the middle of filming a documentary on the Proud Boys on January 6th. Number 6, and the final point in this list. Members of Trump's cabinet discussed the 25th Amendment, Cheney says. Of course, Cheney is one of the committee members that was describing what they learned. Cheney said members of Trump's cabinet discussed the possibility of invoking the 25th Amendment, adding the American public will hear more about it in the coming public hearings. The 25th Amendment provides the cabinet a path to replace the president. It was never invoked on or in the days after January 6th. Okay, so how is the right reacting to it? We have a couple of options to look to. The first place I wanted to look is Reddit. r/conservative. That's a fantastic place to get a read of the room, for lack of a better term. See what r/conservative users are saying about January 6th, and we'll get there. The second place I wanted to look was something called Patriots.win. You may be unfamiliar with it, but it is where the r/the Donald subreddit went after they were banned from Reddit. They created their own website, their own forum, like their own Reddit-style thing, and turned it into the Donald.win originally. They lost the domain name, the Donald.win, and they created Patriots.win. There was some weird internal conflict. So anyway, that's how they ended up at Patriots.win. I don't usually like to kind of go through that website blindly without proofing everything, every comment that I read before going there, especially not on a live stream. because it's a place where violent extremists congregate and talk about their hopes and dreams of getting even more violent and extreme. And that is honestly, even that's an understatement. There are no slurs that are off limits in that place, and they use them generously. The FBI is known to comb through that website regularly because it's so deeply extreme. If you're looking for evidence that Donald Trump leads a full-blown cult, you will find it on Patriots.win. And the third place I wanted to look is through some clips from some of his old followers, like Donald Trump's old people, like Steve Bannon has some clips I want to look at. Also, Mike Lindell. We're going to be taking a look at that. So I'll tell you what, before we get into all of the other stuff, let's just look at some of the clips that I've got here. This is a clip that Steve Bannon put out about the January 6th hearings that were playing at the time. Listen to this. Early June 2022. Listen to what he had to say about it.
Folks, here's what's happening. They're figuring out how to doctor the ratings right now. They don't want to drop the bad news.
What are we going to do?
Hold it. The long faces of Morning Joe in this crowd. Listen, regardless of what the ratings are, it was boring and it sucked.
He's doing everything he can to downplay the importance of the hearings. In my opinion, the hearings are important just to go into the national record alone, just so that they're submitted to like national archives, just so that history cannot be rewritten. Those hearings will be there forever. They detail every moment, every minute of the events that took place on January 6th. It really was a full-blown insurrection. Now, you can say it's boring all you want, but preliminarily, it appears as though 20 million people tuned in on TV, not on YouTube, not on CBS's website or C-SPAN's website, but on TV. Tuned in on TV. Like, who the hell has cable TV anymore? 20 million people tuned in to watch the hearings unfold. That argument falls completely flat in my eyes, and I didn't think it was boring. I watched through the whole thing. Check out this next one. This is Steve Bannon, once again, desperately trying to demonize it because he was the target of a lot of this. He knew a lot of what was happening. In fact, he was the subject of parts of the hearing. Again, early June 2022.
Trump won the presidency, and he is the legitimate president of the United States, and your guy's illegitimate, and the American people are awakening to that. And we don't care what you have to say, and I dare Merrick Garland.
For the record, that's complete nonsense. All of that is nonsense. Trump did not win the election. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. There is no evidence of any kind of orchestrated anything. Biden won the election, and that is why he is president now. This guy creates disinformation.
And we don't care what you have to say, and I dare Merrick Garland to take that crap there last night and try to indict Donald J. Trump.
He might. He might, actually. There's a non-zero chance that he may just do that. I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
Donald J. Trump, we dare you, because we will impeach. We're winning in November, and we're going to impeach you and everybody around you. Screw the White House. We're going to impeach you and everybody at DOJ.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that there is I think in the minds of these people, in the minds of the people who are in favor of the January 6th events or don't believe them to be as evil as they really were, or in the minds of people like Steve Bannon or his followers, we are in a civil war in their minds. Whether we're actually in one or not, they think we are. And that means they're willing to do absolutely anything to accomplish their goals, up to and including a full-blown insurrection if the possibility or if the opportunity arises, which is what we saw on January 6th. Check this one out. This is Mike Lindell. He isn't specifically referencing January 6th in this video, but the subject of Trump winning came up on his TV network recently. Lindell TV is what it's called. So listen to what he has to say. Mid-June 2022, he has another plan to get Donald Trump back into office before 2024, or before the next election.
Event on the 16th and 17th of July, everybody.
16th and 17th of July, okay.
It's going to change everything. And I'll tell you, all the influencers that are invited, thousands of podcasters and TV hosts, radio hosts, that this is going to be the voice of the world. Brandon, I'm going to invite people from overseas, big organizations that have a big influence on the world.
So I guess he's holding another cyber symposium? Is that what he's telling us?
They're the ones that are going to be there. and they're going to be handpicked. I'm picking them. They're going to be there, and they're going to put out their voice. And you know what? After those 2 days, if there's any politician left in the United States that says there was no election crime and that they really are in love with those machines, they can sit behind those melted down prison bars made from those machines right next to Brad Rassenberger. We can build a whole big old new prison for all the people that were part of the election crime of 2020.
So he intends to hold some event in July, and after that event takes place, any politician who doesn't blindly believe that Donald Trump actually won 2020 election, or actually won the 2020 election, he wants to put in prison for not accepting the piss-poor evidence or the lack of evidence that Lindell is providing to people. Well, with all that being said, why don't we take a look at what's happening on Patriots.win? Again, this place is really, really bad. Really bad. It's so bad that I was trying to transfer the links over to my other computer. Like, I have a streaming computer that I use to stream, and then I have an editing computer that I use, a Mac, right? So I was using Facebook Messenger to send a link to this website from my streaming computer to my editing computer earlier today, and it won't send. This website is blocked on all of Facebook. Even in private messages, you can't send messages with a link to this website in it. That's how bad it is. Let's just kind of glance through and see what kind of propaganda they're creating there. I don't think the people on Patriots.win are actually even creating the propaganda. I don't know this for sure, but I think that the propaganda and the memes are probably being created by pro-Trump Republican think tanks, and that includes think tanks sponsored by and paid by Russia. This is a meme that came out. Your outrage is manufactured. BLM riots versus January 6th. So they have two lists. They're categorized here. January 6th lasted a couple hours. 0 murders by participants. No small businesses destroyed versus BLM riots lasted 7 months, 20 plus murders, and hundreds of small businesses destroyed. Again, it's propaganda. It's absolute nonsense. There's very little evidence of extreme destruction that they're trying to portray here, and there's certainly not any evidence to support the claims that they're making in this meme. 150 federal buildings damaged, $1 billion to $2 billion damage. No evidence for any of this. 2,037 officers assaulted, protesters bailed out, encouraged by media and politicians. No evidence of any of this. This is all pure, unadulterated propaganda. So let's see what the people are saying in the comments. $1.5 million in damages for J6 is ridiculous. They broke some fences, some windows, tipped over some trash cans, more like 50,000 max damage. However, with minor tweaks, this will make a great t-shirt. They live in a delusion. It was a full-blown insurrection, and they're downplaying it. They're saying it lasted a couple hours, it wasn't a big deal, who cares? They're even proud of it. You fail to account for the incredible inefficiency and waste of government. When you acquire your income via theft, thrift is not a primary concern. I don't fully understand what he's talking about. More importantly, it wasn't Trump supporters who caused those damages. The damage was done by a combination of FBI and Antifa. You can only have it one way. You can't say it was Antifa that did you can't say it was Antifa that did the January 6th riots and simultaneously say the people they have in jail for this are patriots. They did the right thing. Either they were Trump supporters who did the right thing, or it was Antifa. Pick one. Now, they're going to have it both ways. All the actual Trumpers were 100% peaceful and non-destructive. Delusion. They live in a delusional world. They really do. All they wanted was for Congress to stop certifying an illegitimate president. All they wanted, huh? While they were there, maybe punch Mike Pence in the face for turning his back on Trump like a traitor. They really do live in a complete delusion, these people. All of them on this website. They probably had to pay for a bunch of environmental impact studies to a herd of university blank for months before they could talk some janitor into picking up the tipped over trash cans. Downplaying the damage that was done. Once again, it was just tipped over trash cans. No, we have video of what happened. We know exactly what happened. They busted in windows. People died. People got hurt. Badly hurt. 1.5 million is extremely low. I bet they'll spend 20 million hardening the building, probably 30 million. That's what happened. They report the cost as 30 million or something because they include the cost of keeping the National Guard there for a month, all the hardening of the building they're going to do, and even the mental health services that the Capitol Police supposedly need now. They don't even believe that the Capitol Police need mental or emotional help after what they experienced. The riot was like 2 million tops. For context, Kenosha, Wisconsin alone was 50 in damages only, which they are unable to match with January 6th, even including all the BS costs too. Yeah, a lot of these people just make facts up right off the top of their head. No evidence that Kenosha cost 50 million in damages or anything. They just make things up completely. Look at this one. This is a tweet from Randy Quaid, apparently. Jan 6 primetime hearing was an FCC violation by all networks that aired this illegal campaign ad. The FCC must enforce the equal time rule by airing 2,000 mules. What a joke. There is an FCC rule about equal time. If a politician or a political candidate goes on TV or broadcasts or whatever else, then their opponents have to get equal time to them. That's why Mehmet Oz's TV show, Dr. Oz, was canceled, from my understanding, because the network was going to have to give equal time to his opponents. Except the January 6th hearings are not in favor of or against any specific political candidate. They were detailing the events of a political insurrection that took place in the United States. That wasn't an attempt to promote Biden. It was just pointing out that this person committed sedition against the United States government. Equal time wouldn't apply. But again, these people live in a delusional world. It doesn't matter. Facts do not matter to these people. Seems Americans didn't have the gas to tune in. Too bad. Incorrect. There were actually a lot of people who tuned in. So it seems to me that the way the right is reacting is they're pretending that there was nothing to see there. It was no big deal. They're downplaying it. They're saying Antifa did it. But the Trump supporters that were there, which there were some apparently according to them, they were super peaceful. It was the Antifa people and the FBI agents that did all the damage. And nobody's even interested in the hearings anyways, apparently, according to these people. The big lie about the 2020 election is out of the bottle, and the propaganda isn't working to deflect to yet another new variant of foreign entanglement or other ridiculous BS. The number of Patriots I'm reading slowly because I don't want to come across a word that I really don't want to say. Forgive me if I accidentally say a word I shouldn't. I'm trying to avoid anything like that, but this place is a cesspool. The number of Patriots volunteering as election watchers for the midterms is going to make it much harder to steal than it's been in the past. Actually, having election watchers like that, there are a lot of rules and regulations about it because it can turn into voter intimidation very quickly. And these people don't understand the meaning of the term voter intimidation or election watchers. They just want to send who they view to be patriots into these election sites to carry guns in and stand behind people as they cast ballots. No big deal, right? I'm not saying they're not going to come up with some new... But either in 2022 or 2024, we're going to have something close enough to a fair election that they're not going to be able to undo another massive landslide. I just want to be clear that I was volunteering to be the hangman for the public trials for treason from the very beginning, so no people cutsies in line. Dude wants to be the hangman for public trials for treason against anybody who believes that the election was not stolen or accepts that the election was not stolen. They live in a delusional world, and they have an interest in getting violent. Let's look for the January 6th stuff. This is r/conservative. See what they have to say about it. God. Some of these posts, though they're not about January 6th, are pretty interesting. Guns must not be used for self-defense. Canada's Trudeau insists. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. You shouldn't be using guns for self-defense. You should be using the police for self-defense. Here's a post on r/conservative posted 3 hours ago. Jim Jordan, which is a congressman, January 6th committee has altered evidence and lied to the American people about it. No, that's incorrect. They haven't. That is propaganda. And the fact that this guy is spreading it the way he is, absolutely disgusting. Disturbing stuff. He's carrying water for Donald Trump in his insurrection. First January 6th hearing posts abysmal ratings in primetime slot. That's not true. It's nonsense. They had 20 million live viewers. That's Insanely high. Same thing Schiff did with the impeachments, claiming Trump did stuff while providing only accusations, zero actual evidence of any legal wrongdoing by Trump, and only allowing one side of it to say anything. This is nothing more than the media giving Democrats free ad time. Just another Schiff show. But they're not Democrats. There are Republicans on there too. This is not a Democratic witch hunt, much as you want it to be. This is the response of the right. This is what they believe. This is how they're viewing things. Telling you guys, they live in a delusional world. They really do. Anything involving Schiff and then throw in Raskin as a giant anti-Trump show. Both are obsessed with Trump being off any and all further ballots. Trump lives rent-free in their heads. Just what Raskin needs is mental health issues run wild in his family. Okay, personal attacks, I don't know what they're talking about, but Trump actually did really plot and execute an insurrection against the U.S. government. He did. That's what happened. If you don't believe that, you live in a delusional world. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't want Trump on any ballots either. Lindsey Graham, I don't like the guy, but I don't want to throw him off of a ballot. Mike Pence, disgusting human being by all accounts. I don't want him thrown off of the ballot. Donald Trump is an insurrectionist, and I want him off of every ballot in the United States permanently. People are tired of the BS. We should be talking about the economy, the border situation, the ever-present opioid epidemic, but no, they only want to focus on the bad orange man because he was mean and showed that career politicians are useless. Okay, I don't know what that means. Showed that career politicians are useless? That's not what we're talking about. Do you know what the January 6th hearings are all about? Do you have any idea why this is even going on? Have you watched 3 minutes of it? This isn't about politicians being useless. This is about a full-blown insurrection against the United States government. And in addition to that, the border situation, the opioid epidemic, the economy, we can do multiple things at once. You realize that, right? The budget of the U.S. government is $5.9 trillion. You realize that we can devote, I don't know, a couple $100 million to this committee? You realize it's only like 6 people out of the 538 congressmen that represent the United States, right? We can actually do multiple things at once. That's possible. We can investigate insurrectionists and also focus on the economy and all the other stuff that you're worried about simultaneously. This is propaganda. This guy is spreading propaganda to try to allay the fears that people may have about the January 6th hearings. Is it normal for congressional hearings to be aired on primetime TV? No, it's not. Neither is an insurrection. Very unusual, both of those things. When the Democrats are looking at a substantial midterm loss, it is. Yeah, except that the committee is run by Republicans too. Multiple Republicans, it's bipartisan. Who gives a how many people are watching? The viewership of political hearings of court cases has nothing to do with the merit of the case. That's true. I agree. Just so happens that this case has a lot of merit. It's been proven without a shadow of a doubt at this point that Donald Trump was directing things from the top and planned a full-blown insurrection against the United States government. Figures, people don't like being lied to and gaslighted. Eventually, even the most devoted Democrats will reach their limit. Will these people ever come out of the delusional world they live in? Will they ever come out? Will they ever find their way out of this delusion? Or are they doomed to live in their heads forever? That's my question for you. Will they ever come back to reality with the rest of us? Or are we just going to have to expect this kind of thing from here on? The people that we were just reading from on Reddit and on Patriots.win are the people who have houses like this. If you were listening, not watching, this woman is driving by a house that has Trump signs all over the place.
I'm sorry that it's so herky-jerky with my camera at times, but wait till the end. Wait till you see the mailbox. This is a house in St. James, Long Island. I was so shocked driving by that I couldn't even control my camera. It had a sign that said, "Smile, you're on camera," so I hope they saw me, and I hope they have no shame, so I don't think they'd mind being all over TikTok. But this should be sent to cult deprogrammers and somebody else that might be able to intervene and help these people, because the inhabitants of this home are very, very mentally unwell. This is not the sign of a mentally stable human being. I feel bad if there's children in this home. I hope the whole house gets sunk into a sinkhole like in Poltergeist.
If you were listening, not watching, this woman is driving by a house that has Trump signs all over the place. The whole house is decked out in Trump flags, Trump 2024 signs, gigantic. I mean, everywhere. The people must have spent $10,000 on Trump paraphernalia to deck their entire house out in Trump gear. Like Trump, Make America Great Again signs, gigantic, hanging on their roof. I mean, everything. It's just... Their mailbox has a picture of Donald Trump's face on it. I mean, it completely unhinged stuff. That is who is posting comments on places like Patriots.win. That is who's posting comments on r/conservative. You know who else is? People like this.
Please, President Trump. Please, I hope you have a plan. God, please save us. Save us from the devil, please.
These people live in a delusional world. They really are disconnected from reality. I don't know how else I can communicate this more clearly. These people will never give up on the guy. And they will never believe or accept the fact that he led a full-blown insurrection against the U.S. government because he didn't want to leave office. They'll never accept that. So our best hope is to appeal to moderates, to reasonable people, at least people who have a chance, people who are still in their heads, like people who are still in reality with the rest of us. Best we can do is appeal to those people to try to prevent this guy from taking office ever again. Because I believe if he does take office again, if he does take the presidency again, he will turn the U.S. into a dictatorship. I truly believe that. And I'm not the only one saying that. There are political scientists who back me up on that. Greg Edmonds, Owen, Cheney is not claiming, she's offering sworn testimony. Big difference. Absolutely, yeah, I agree. I think the article said claiming, or maybe I said it, but either way, she is not claiming. You're right. She's offering sworn testimony. In fact, everybody in the January 6th hearing were offering sworn testimony under oath, under penalty of perjury. The hearings were a big deal, a very big deal. And as I said, now that the hearings have taken place, they can be entered into the National Archives, and they can't rewrite history no matter who wins. That's on record forever, a matter of public record.